at the end of your life. You won't regret the chances you took, you'll regret the chances you didn't take. You won't regret the times you failed trying, you'll regret the times you failed to try. Right now, there's a 75-year-old version of yourself looking back at this moment, desperately wishing they could tell you to stop overthinking and start overacting. That future version of you knows something you don't know yet. The pain of regret is infinitely worse than the pain of failure. Failure heals, teaches, and strengthens. Regret haunts, tortures, and weakens. Every day you choose comfort over courage, you're writing a story that ends with, "I wish I would have," instead of, "I'm glad I did." The most expensive words in the English language aren't, "I don't know." They're, "what if I had." Don't let those be the last words of your dreams. Tom Wilson sat in his gray cubicle on a Tuesday morning, staring at the same spreadsheet he'd been working on for 3 years. At 45, he had the same conversation with himself that he'd been having for the past 2 decades. "Next year," he whispered under his breath, "next year, I'll finally start that consulting business. Next year, I'll have enough money saved. Next year, the kids will be older. Next year will be different." But here's what Tom didn't realize, and what most people never understand. Next year never comes. It's always next year. It's always someday. It's always when conditions are perfect. I want to tell you something that might shock you. Tom is not alone. He represents millions of people who have turned waiting into an art form. They've become professional waiters. And I don't mean the kind who serve food. I mean the kind who serve themselves a lifetime of excuses. You see, waiting has become the most socially acceptable form of failure in our society. Nobody judges you for waiting. Your friends nod their heads when you say you're not ready yet. Your family supports your decision to wait until the timing is better. Society has made waiting comfortable, even respectable. But let me share something with you that will change how you think about time forever. Every single day that Tom waited, every single day that he chose comfort over action, cost him exactly $247, 0 cents. How do I know this number? Simple mathematics. Think about your own life for a moment. What have you been putting off? What dreams have you been postponing? What goals have you been pushing to someday while you've been waiting? What has it cost you? Not just in money, but in experiences, growth, confidence, and the person you could have become. The truth about perfect timing is this: it doesn't exist. Perfect timing is a myth we tell ourselves to justify inaction. There will never be a moment when all the stars align, when every condition is ideal, when every fear has vanished, and when success is guaranteed. Never. I've studied successful people for over 4 decades, and here's what I've learned. Successful people don't wait for perfect conditions. They create conditions through action. They understand that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is right now. When Bill Gates started Microsoft, he was a college dropout with no business experience. The timing wasn't perfect. When Oprah Winfrey started her media career, she was a young woman from a poor background in a male-dominated industry. The timing wasn't perfect. When Colonel Sanders started KFC at age 65, after multiple business failures, the timing wasn't perfect. But they all understood something that Tom didn't understand. Perfect timing never comes, but right timing is always now. Here's another brutal truth about waiting. Every day you don't start is a day your competition gets ahead of you. While you're preparing to get ready to think about maybe starting, someone else is already doing. They're making mistakes, learning lessons, building skills, and gaining the experience that you could be gaining. The comfort zone is the most dangerous place you can live. It feels safe, but it's actually the riskiest place of all. Why? Because in your comfort zone, you're not growing, you're not learning, you're not becoming the person you need to become to achieve your goals. you're slowly dying. One comfortable day at a time. Tom's story doesn't end in that cubicle, though. 2 years ago, something happened that changed everything. His company downsized, and Tom found himself unemployed for the first time in 23 years. Suddenly, waiting was no longer an option. He had two choices: find another job and start the waiting cycle again, or finally take action on the dream he'd been postponing for decades. Fear is a powerful motivator, but it's also the greatest destroyer of dreams. Tom realized that his fear of failure had been controlling his life for 20 years, but now he faced a different fear, the fear of regret, the fear of looking back at 75 and knowing he never tried. So at 47, Tom finally started his consulting business, not because conditions were perfect, but because he finally understood that they never would be. Not because he had enough money saved, but because he realized he'd never have enough. Not because he felt completely ready, but because he understood that readiness comes through doing, not through waiting. Within 18 months, Tom's consulting business was generating more income than his corporate job ever had. He wasn't just earning more money, he was earning something more valuable, the knowledge that he could create his own success. He was earning confidence, fulfillment, and the respect of his family, who watched him transform from a man who talked about dreams into a man who lived them. The most expensive words in the English language are, "I'll start tomorrow." Tomorrow is the graveyard of dreams. Tomorrow is where good intentions go to die. Tomorrow is the most popular day of the week for beginning new projects, and it's also the day that never comes. Your time is not unlimited. This isn't a dress rehearsal. This is your life, happening right now, one irreplaceable moment at a time. While you're waiting for perfect conditions, life is passing you by. While you're preparing to get ready, opportunities are disappearing. While you're thinking about starting, someone else is finishing. The question isn't whether you're ready. The question is, are you willing to become ready through action? The question isn't whether conditions are perfect. The question is, are you willing to make them better through your efforts? Now let me tell you why Tom waited for 20 years. It wasn't because he was lazy. It wasn't because he didn't want success badly enough. Tom waited because his mind was programmed with three deadly fears that keep most people trapped their entire lives. The first fear is the fear of failure. This is the big one. This is the fear that whispers in your ear at 3 in the morning when you're thinking about taking that leap. What if you fail? It says. What if you lose money? What if people laugh at you? What if you're not good enough? But here's what that voice doesn't tell you. Failure is not the opposite of success, it's the stepping stone to success. Every person who has ever achieved anything significant has failed multiple times. The difference between winners and losers is not that winners never fail. The difference is that winners fail faster, learn quicker, and try again sooner. I know a woman named Lisa who wanted to start her own bakery for 15 years. Every time she got close to taking action, the fear of failure would paralyze her. What if my cakes aren't good enough? She would ask herself. What if nobody comes to my shop? These questions kept her working at a job she hated for 15 years. Finally, at 42, Lisa realized something that changed her life forever. She was already failing. By not pursuing her dream, she was failing every single day. She was failing at living the life she wanted. She was failing at using her talents. She was failing at being happy. So Lisa made a decision. She decided she'd rather fail trying than fail by not trying at all. Within 3 years, her bakery became the most popular in her town. But even if it had failed, Lisa told me she would have been proud of herself for finally having the courage to try. The second fear that keeps people waiting is the fear of success. Yes, You heard that right. Many people are more afraid of succeeding than they are of failing. Why? Because success brings responsibility. Success brings change. Success means you can never go back to making excuses. This fear runs deep in our psychology. We think if I succeed, people will expect more from me. I'll have to maintain this level of performance. I'll have to leave my comfort zone permanently. So we sabotage ourselves before we even start. We find reasons why now isn't the right time. We find flaws in our plans. We find excuses to delay. The third fear is the fear of criticism. This might be the most paralyzing fear of all. We're so afraid of what other people might think that we never give them the chance to think anything at all. We stay invisible. We stay silent. We stay safe. But let me tell you something about criticism. If you do anything meaningful with your life, you will be criticized. If you don't do anything meaningful with your life, you will be criticized for that too. You might as well be criticized for trying than for not trying. When Tom finally started his consulting business, his brother-in-law said, "You're crazy to leave a secure job at your age," his neighbor said. "Most small businesses fail in the first year," his former colleague said. "You'll be back within 6 months." Tom learned something valuable from this criticism. The people who criticize your dreams are usually the people who have given up on their own dreams. They're not trying to protect you from failure. They're trying to protect themselves from feeling bad about their own inaction. Now let's talk about perfectionism. Perfectionism is not the desire to do good work. Perfectionism is the fear of doing imperfect work. And imperfect work is the only kind of work that exists. Perfectionists never start, because they're waiting for the perfect plan, they're waiting for perfect knowledge, they're waiting for perfect conditions, they're waiting for perfect confidence. But the perfection is the enemy of progress. I've met thousands of people who have perfect business plans that they've never acted on. I've met people who have been researching their ideas for years without ever testing them in the real world. They know everything about their industry except what it feels like to actually be in business. The perfectionist trap is seductive because it feels like progress. You feel like you're working on your goal when you're really just avoiding the risk of actually pursuing it. You feel productive when you're really just procrastinating with style. There's another psychological trap that keeps people waiting: the need for external validation. They're waiting for someone to give them permission to pursue their dreams. They're waiting for someone to tell them they're good enough, smart enough, or ready enough. But here's the truth. No one is going to give you permission to live your life. No one is going to validate your dreams except you. No one is going to believe in your potential more than you do. When I started my speaking career, I didn't wait for someone to invite me to speak. I created my own opportunities. I found small groups that needed speakers. I spoke for free until I got good enough to charge. I didn't wait for validation. I created it through action. The scarcity mindset is another psychological barrier that keeps people waiting. This is the belief that opportunities are limited, that if you don't take the perfect opportunity at the perfect time, you'll miss your chance forever. But opportunities are like buses. If you miss one, another one will come along. In fact, when you start taking action, you create opportunities. You become an opportunity magnet because you're in motion, you're visible, and you're ready to recognize and seize chances that inactive people never even see. Your mind is the most powerful tool you have, but it can also be your greatest enemy. It can create reasons to wait that seem completely logical and valid. It can make fear feel like wisdom and procrastination feel like prudence. But you can reprogram your mind. You can change the conversation in your head from why I can't to how I can. You can transform fear from a stop sign into a compass that points toward what matters most to you. Here's something that will change your life forever. Action creates momentum, and momentum creates miracles. Every successful person understands this fundamental truth. They know that taking imperfect action today is infinitely more powerful than taking perfect action someday. So let me tell you about Jenny Martinez, an elementary school teacher who dreamed of becoming a published author for years. She talked about writing a novel. She had notebooks filled with story ideas. She had characters fully developed in her mind. She had plots that kept her awake at night with excitement. But Jenny never wrote a single page. She was waiting for the perfect time, the perfect story, the perfect writing environment. She was waiting for summer vacation when she would have more time. She was waiting until her children were older and needed less attention. She was waiting for inspiration to strike like lightning. Then one evening, frustrated with her own excuses, Jenny made a simple decision. She would write for just 15 minutes before bed. Not an hour, not until she felt like stopping. Just 15 minutes. No matter how tired she was, no matter how uninspired she felt. 15 minutes of putting words on paper. The first night, she wrote garbage. The second night, more garbage. The third night, something slightly better than garbage. But here's what happened that Jenny didn't expect. Momentum began to build. Those 15 minutes started to feel easy. Then they started to feel good. Then they started to feel necessary. Within 6 months, Jenny had completed her first novel. Not because she had more time than before, not because she had found perfect conditions, but because she had discovered the most powerful force in human achievement, the momentum of consistent action. Action has a magical quality that planning doesn't have. When you take action, even small action, you learn things that no amount of planning can teach you. You discover obstacles you never anticipated. You find solutions you never could have imagined. You develop skills you never knew you had. But more importantly, action builds confidence. Every time you take a step forward, you prove to yourself that you're capable of taking the next step. Every small victory gives you the courage to attempt a bigger victory. Every problem you solve makes you better at solving the next problem. This is what I call the momentum principle. Objects at rest tend to stay at rest. Objects in motion tend to stay in motion. People who are waiting tend to keep waiting. People who are acting tend to keep acting. The hardest part of any journey is taking the first step. The second hardest part is taking the second step. After that, momentum takes over. Jenny's story doesn't end with completing her novel. That momentum carried her to the next level. She found an agent, she found a publisher. Her book became a bestseller. But even more important than external success was internal transformation. Jenny discovered that she was capable of far more than she had ever imagined today. Jenny has written 12 novels and is considered one of the most promising voices in contemporary fiction. But it all started with 15 minutes of imperfect action. It started with the willingness to write badly rather than not write at all. The difference between dreamers and achievers is not talent. It's not intelligence. It's not even opportunity. The difference is action. Dreamers think about what they want to do. Achievers do what they want to do, even when they don't feel like doing it. Action beats planning every single time. You can spend months creating the perfect business plan, but one day of talking to actual customers will teach you more about your business than all that planning combined. You can spend years researching the perfect investment strategy, but making your first investment will teach you more about money than all the books you could read. Planning is important, but planning without action is just wishful thinking. Action without perfect planning is still progress. You can course correct as you go. You can improve as you learn. You can adapt as conditions change. But you can't steer a parked car. And you can't improve on action you never take. There's something else magical that happens when you start taking action. Courage grows through use. The more you act in spite of fear, the braver you become. The more you step outside your comfort zone, the bigger your comfort zone becomes. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is action in the presence of fear. When Tom finally started his consulting business, he was terrified. His hands shook during his first client meeting. His voice cracked when he quoted his prices. He went home that night convinced he had made a fool of himself. But Tom had done something he'd never done before. He had acted despite his fear. The next client meeting was easier. The one after that was easier still. Within months, Tom was conducting himself with the confidence of someone who had been consulting for years. Not because his fear had disappeared, but because he had learned to act while afraid. Action also has a compound effect. Small actions taken consistently create massive results over time. Jenny's 15 minutes of daily writing created a writing career. Tom's first awkward client meeting led to a thriving business. Every great achievement started with a small action that someone was willing to take when they didn't feel ready. The world rewards action, not intention. The marketplace pays for results, not effort. Your bank account reflects what you do, not what you think about doing. Your relationships flourish based on how you treat people, not how you plan to treat people. Your health improves based on how you actually eat and exercise. Starting today means starting imperfectly. It means beginning before you feel ready. It means taking the first step even when you can't see the entire staircase. But that's exactly what makes it powerful. That's exactly what separates you from everyone else who's still waiting for perfect conditions that will never come. Right now, in this very moment, you have everything you need to change the direction of your life. Not tomorrow morning, not next Monday, not when you feel more prepared. Right now. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. The most successful people in the world have learned a secret that unsuccessful people never understand. You don't have to see the whole staircase to take the first step. You just need to know where you want to go and be willing to start walking. Let me tell you about Robert Chen, a factory worker who transformed his entire life by understanding this principle. Robert worked the night shift at an automotive plant for 12 years, every morning, driving home as the sun came up. He would dream about starting his own business. He had ideas, he had passion, he had determination, but he felt trapped by his circumstances. Robert convinced himself he needed more money saved before he could start. He convinced himself he needed more business education. He convinced himself he needed the perfect business idea. Years passed, and Robert was still driving home at sunrise, still dreaming, still waiting. Then one day, Robert realized something that changed everything. He realized he was asking the wrong question. Instead of asking, how can I get everything I need to start, he started asking, what can I do with what I already have? That shift in thinking led Robert to start a small auto repair service in his garage during his off hours. He didn't quit his factory job. He didn't risk his family's security. He just started where he was, with what he had, doing what he could. Within months, Robert had regular customers. Within a year, he was earning more from his garage business than from his factory job. Within 18 months, he left the factory for good and opened his own shop. Today, Robert owns 5 auto repair locations and employs over 40 people. But here's the most important part of Robert's story. It all started with one decision, to stop waiting and start acting. Not when everything was perfect, not when he felt completely ready, but when he finally understood that starting is more important than being perfect. Robert's success wasn't built on one big decision. It was built on thousands of small decisions, made consistently, day after day. This is what I call the compound effect of daily action. Every day you choose action over inaction. You're not just moving toward your goals, Now let me give you a practical system that will transform your life if you have the courage to apply it. I call it the 5 pillars strategy. And it's designed to turn your dreams into reality through systematic daily action. The first pillar is absolute clarity of purpose. You must know exactly what you want and why you want it. Not a vague idea, not a general direction, a specific, detailed, written goal that excites you and scares you at the same time. Write it down, make it specific, make it measurable, make it yours. The second pillar is immediate action steps. Once you know what you want, identify the smallest possible action you can take today, not next week, today. If you want to start a business, your action might be researching one competitor. If you want to write a book, your action might be writing 1 page. If you want to get healthy, your action might be walking around the block. Small actions create big results. The third pillar is daily accountability. You must track your progress every single day. What gets measured gets managed. What gets managed gets achieved. Create a simple system to record your daily actions. It doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be consistent. The fourth pillar is progress measurement. Every week, evaluate what's working and what isn't. Success leaves clues, and so does failure. Pay attention to both. Celebrate your wins, no matter how small. Learn from your setbacks, no matter how painful. Both are valuable information that will guide your next steps. The fifth pillar is course correction. Your original plan won't be perfect, and that's perfectly fine. The key is to adjust as you learn. Stay committed to your goal, but flexible in your approach. Every successful person has changed their methods multiple times while staying focused on their outcome. These 5 pillars work because they address the real challenges that stop most people. They give you clarity when you're confused. They give you direction when you're lost. They give you momentum when you're stuck. They give you feedback when you're wondering if you're on the right track. But here's what really matters. None of this works unless you work it. You can have the best system in the world, but without consistent action, it's worthless. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but without application, it's powerless. You can have all the potential in the world, but without action, it remains potential forever. The time for waiting is over. The time for excuses is finished. The time for preparation is done. This is your time. This is your moment. This is your opportunity to step into the life you've been dreaming about. 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the things you did do. You will regret the chances you didn't take, the risks you didn't accept, the dreams you didn't pursue. But you will never regret the courage you showed in pursuing what mattered to you. Your dreams don't have an expiration date, but your time does. Every day you postpone action is a day closer to running out of days. Every opportunity you pass by is an opportunity someone else will seize. Every excuse you make is a decision to stay exactly where you are. But every action you take, no matter how small, is a vote for the person you want to become. Every step forward, no matter how tentative, is progress toward the life you want to live. Every moment you choose courage over comfort, you're building the habit of success. The truth is, you already know what you need to do. You've known for months, maybe years. The question isn't what to do. The question is, will you do it? Will you finally stop waiting for perfect conditions and start creating the conditions you need? Will you finally stop preparing to get ready and start getting ready by doing? Your time is now. Not because I say so, not because conditions are perfect, but because you are alive, you are capable, and you have something valuable to contribute to this world. Your dreams matter. Your goals are valid. Your success is possible. The only difference between where you are and where you want to be is the action you're willing to take. The only difference between who you are and who you want to become is the person you decide to be starting today. Stop waiting. Start doing. Your time is now.